welcome everyone to Ransomware in Action Executive Strategies for Real-Time Response. Today we're conducting a ransomware tabletop simulation constructed around real operational landscape. The purpose is to test decision-making, exposure points, and recovery strategies, and to demonstrate how EC Council's world-class certifications can strengthen our resilience at every step. I'm Andria Delia. I'm a cyber threat intelligence expert and digital forensic analyst. I have mitigated ransomware attacks and try to share all the lessons learned with other like-minded professionals in this industry. I was also a Celebrite digital forensics. As you can see, that's me on the screen. I'll skip that part because you can, connect with me on LinkedIn and see everything that I do there. So let's begin. So I'd like to put you in context of usually a ransomware attack where it seems like a regular day at the office. Usually what happens is we're facing real world pressures. So understaffed teams, tool outages, investors expect a Q4 deliverable. So the product roadmap to your company is really what is going to matter in these cases. So the context of this ransomware attack matters immensely to threat actors because they choose their moment. They strike when pressure is high and visibility is low. So early in our scenario, we notice a system outage. It becomes the first indicator of compromise. So how many of you would treat this outage as routine or suspicious? These are things that we have to ask ourselves because the first 24 to 48 hours is extremely critical. So what happens is your employees will notice something unusual. And as we see, nothing will work as it should be. So these are, could this really happen to you? Yes, because ransomware doesn't target size. It targets opportunity. Busy organizations with strained teams are statistically most vulnerable. So this can happen to anybody, whatever size your organization may be. You may have delayed maintenance, vendor discrepancies, tight deadlines. This creates the perfect smokescreen for attacker activity. So when you see something like this and your employees are alerted of nothing being online or working properly, you have to react immediately. So the first people that get called in is, of course, your IT teams. So your IT teams see this. Now we have to start looking at what this implicates. So is this just gonna impact stock delays? Is it just a software maintenance? This gives the attackers the perfect normal noise to hide behind because people are not automatically thinking that this could be a ransomware attack where your data has been exfiltrated previously and now you will be encrypted and all your endpoints will no longer be working. This is the reality of it. So now, welcome to the board of Acme Limited. So we're going to put ourselves in a organization's normal day at the office. Except, spoiler alert, it's not going to be the best day at the office. So we have the board and we have all stakeholders that have to participate in all the decision making. And this is why it's so important to actually map this all out in your business continuity plan as well as your incident response plan. There should be a protocol and stakeholders must know who is in charge of what. Because when mayhem erupts, people under pressure don't always react well, and it's very difficult to have a non-stressful environment when things like this happen because we are already stretched at the limit and we don't want attackers to gain a foothold because we are under pressure and disorganized. So as you can see, we're going to have to walk through everybody's role as well as everybody's implication with the board and all stakeholders. So this is where, testing tools start crashing and employees start working offline because the ransomware has been deployed. Usually, when a ransomware is deployed and all your endpoints are decrypted, it doesn't mean that the threat actors woke up that morning and thought about you in that instant. They have been possibly lingering in your system for months. That's what we call reconnaissance. What they do is they traverse files, look at your insurance policies, bank accounts, start exfiltrating any valuable information like health, personal identifiable information, credit cards, and they start seeing and analyzing and profiling you just to make sure that they can come up with an amount that you possibly might be tempted to pay. That's how these ransomware groups, they camouflage their activities inside your existing operational disruption. So now, what do? We have a ransomware note, and what a ransomware note looks like is this. So, hello friends, you are having a bad day. Your documents, photo base, everything has been exfiltrated. So now the pressure is on. You're actually communicating with the threat actors, which means there is a beacon somewhere to their command and control. So this is the most dangerous phase because attackers have escalated privilege, mapped out all your assets, and have delivered their payload. The payload is the ransomware strain. Usually with the ransomware note, you will find which type of ransomware group or strain has attacked you. So this is where the ransomware threat actors explain to you the following steps that they would like for you under pressure to follow, except with a good business continuity plan and an incident response plan and all stakeholders' knowledge, we don't have to succumb to pressure. So this is very important that we do not succumb to threat actors' demands. So we call an emergency board meeting. So IT confirms that systems are encrypting rapidly. Help is needed to contain the threat. Laptops and servers are affected, though the extent is unknown. The help desk is telling people to shut down their systems and leave them off. Someone suggests that they've heard that paying a ransom is okay. It's got to be easier than restoring the companies to operation, even if that's possible. Is it really okay? I always recommend that you have this discussion with all the stakeholders previous to an attack, because during an attack, paying a ransom might sound like the best option. It isn't. I like to repeat that there is no honor among thieves. I've said this in all my talks. You cannot negotiate with threat actors. Once you pay, you may fall a trap to double extortion, triple extortion. They will not stop there. You are not transacting with normal business people. These are criminals, and we should not be funding their criminal organizations. So this is where it's very important to have this discussion with your board, with all the stakeholders, of whether or not your organization will negotiate or not. I, of course, recommend not negotiating and preparing yourself for the eventuality of a cyber incident. It is very important that you have this discussion, that it's not just written in policies, because unfortunately anything written in policies gets thrown out the window when these situations happen. We tend to be reactive more than preventative. So this is why it's important to have this hard-coded within your organization and to follow a good moral conduct so that everybody is on the same page. You need to also verify what is the playbook of your insurance policy and company. They usually have their own playbook. They are the first person that you need to contact because if you have cyber insurance, they will recommend that you follow their own playbook. So that's very important once you if you get hit with a cyber incident or a ransomware attack, to really contact them as a first responder. So what do we do now? So we have to have this discussion of how to proceed and who is responsible for what within the organization, because this will cause warehouse delays, maintenance postponements, and you also have to find out how much information has been exfiltrated. There are some ransomware groups that do attack without the ransomware encryption and just exfiltrate valuable information and hold that hostage. But in most cases, you will have company disruption by threat actors that do encrypt and disable your operations. So of course, the best way to really identify this activity is by correlating system behavior with all your threat intelligence. Normal delays don't involve unusual outbound traffic patterns. So the IT has a lot of pressure at this point to start answering questions because you need to get back online as quickly as possible and to eliminate the threat actor's foothold within your organization. This is where the timeline becomes extremely critical. So if we can identify all the pressure points used by these ransomware groups. So of course, threat actors will leverage urgency and if you're close to a launch, if you're close to a deliverable, that's what they're counting on. That's what they will leverage, is you being under pressure and reacting under pressure. So this is what you have to avoid at all costs by really implementing a strong business continuity plan as well as an incident response plan. And usually what I recommend is roll cards for all stakeholders during a cyber incident. So inside the boardroom looks like when you're faced with a breach or a ransomware attack. Usually you have general counsel, non-executive director, board members, CISOs, and crisis communicators. So a lot of the discussion points will turn around, is this a reportable breach? Now, this is very important because reporting is necessary, though you have to make sure that you know what you're reporting. Sometimes you will be faced with a cyber incident and not necessarily a ransomware attack, and it doesn't need to be reported because it can be easily mitigated. You want to use the right vocabulary within your organization, because if you start saying, cyber attack or ransomware attack, and it is not that, you don't want to cause reputational damage or any kind of commotion that is not necessary. So using the right vocabulary within the cyber incident is very important. So you need to be aware of what the recommendations are. Your insurance company, of course, will have that playbook laid out, but it's very important to know what your governing bodies, what your government recommends in reportable breach protocols. And how long do you have? Usually you have 48 hours to 72 hours to report a breach. So IT definitely has to work overtime to make sure that all indicators of compromise are identified. Do we need to appoint external counsel? Make sure that you have a team of people that will guide you. It's not in the midst of an attack that you start scrambling for team members and stakeholders. These are all things that you have to line up ahead of time, of course, integrated in your business continuity plan, who you are going to rely on during these difficult times. Can we pay? Is it lawful? A lot of governments now make it unlawful to pay ransom. I don't recommend paying ransom because they will not eliminate the exfiltrated data. They already have it and they could continue to use it and expose it. So it's not like you won't be paying and everything gets eliminated and all goes back to normal. You are just showing these threat actors that you are weak enough to pay, you are disorganized enough to pay. So let's not give them that. Let's prepare in advance. And of course, verify with your insurance. Do we have insurance? It is always recommended to invest in your own resilience and hardening of your infrastructure instead of paying. Whatever you might have thought of paying, invest it in your own enterprise to secure and rebuild properly. So the crisis communicator, this is also very important. What do we tell staff and how? So you have to make sure that your crisis communicator, your human resource department is ready to send out information to employees, because employees will be sort of the first ones noticing that something is wrong. They are going to be working offline, have these communication, sometimes normal communication channels will be broken because of the ransomware attack. They will be offline. So you have to think of secondary measures of communicating with your staff. Either is personal cell phones, different WhatsApp or applications, because your voice over IP might be affected or offline. So make sure that you think of secondary methods of communicating with your staff. What do we do if it becomes public? So often threat actors like to put pressure and will expose your information on their leak sites. So you have to already begin planning and mapping if this becomes public, what type of exposure, what kind of reputational damage could you be exposed to. These are all very important factors within your decision making, because these are normal pressure tactics that cyber criminals will use for you to pay. And for the CISO, what are the next steps in the investigation? It is very important to find initial access. What has caused this breach? What was the first opening that caused the leak, the entry point to your organization? Because if you don't find it, you are always exposed to it, and it could be a weak point in rebuilding your infrastructure after an attack. So of course, the emergency board meeting concludes. So the board decides to keep payment as an option or last resort. Insurers are called, external counsel are appointed to provide initial advice. Discussion on payments are paused. The CISO agrees that the use of an incident response firm with the insurers. The ITs are instructed to explore all options to restore service and data. Internal communications start communicating with internal staff, and the press packs are ready just in case. So it is very important that all these steps are followed. This is very important to have this on hand. Like this, you sort of map out the next steps in a very timely manner. So this is where the pressure gets put. We are not paying ransom, so threat actors are heading to the media and leveraging media reports. So if your enterprise sees this in the news, rumors grow that client data is compromised, your reputation can be compromised. You start seeing this on TV, in the news, you of course will feel the pressure. So again, after exposure in the media, there is another emergency board meeting. So this has to be discussed urgently with your communication, with the human resources, with all stakeholders, because what is made public is very important and could have a major incident and long-lasting impact on your organization. So you would definitely have to make sure that you have a press pack and be the most transparent as possible, because if you are not transparent, and people will go on the leak sites and will see what has been exfiltrated, it will be more problematic. You need to protect your organization. You need to protect the victims of any leaks. So the more transparent and the more that you have a plan in motion, people will definitely feel reassured by your action taking. So at this point, you also have to make sure that the regulatory actions are in place and all clients and stakeholders are communicated with. So this is what from inside of the board looks like again. So do we need to maintain privilege and evidence? Any other steps to manage legal risk? These are important points that you need to discuss. You need to maintain the privilege of information so that it doesn't spread, misinformation spreads like wildfire. If we make the payment, can we recover it? Usually not. So I always recommend not even contemplating a payment and really working hard to mitigate the situation without payment, without even dealing with threat actors. The crisis communications are really important at this point in dealing with external press interest and the impact on the internal and client communications. Is it time to report to regulators? Usually when it's made public, regulators either come in on their own or need to be notified. It will show also regulators that you have a plan in motion and that you have the situation under control. So the emergency board meeting concludes. So we have to prioritize investigation and finding of that initial access or what caused the breach. Ask the incident responders to see if there's any listings of the breach on the dark web and monitor dark web activity at this point. Use the crisis communication to update the press and to update staff and clients. Ask internal comm to begin monitoring social media channels. You don't want this to spread more than it has to and with misinformation. We are now notifying applicable regulatory authorities. Usually that's also law enforcement. And we need to reinforce the need to maintain legal privilege of all information and not to consider payment of any ransomware or any ransom at this point. Work to prepare initial reports on for regulatory authorities, and that has to be done in a very timely manner. So this is what the inside workings of a board of all stakeholders looks like. So this is, of course, after all the ransom, has detonated within your organizations, and you really have to avoid any panic-driven mistakes. What we need to have is to depend on incident response maturity, which has structured crisis decision making. That is what is going to save you in these in these times, in these difficult times. Because what happens is that you will feel the pressure because all your deliverables freeze at this point. So all your customer tools, all your product releases, all your update modules, your remote worker access, your manufacturing terminals, your shared drives. This is where all stakeholders are going to feel the pressure. So this is what we have to, understand, that all your shared drives, project files, update packages, your software, your hardware, your firmware can be affected by ransomware strains, either command and control beaconings and rootkits. You also have to understand that threat actors will continuously communicate with you to ante up the pressure. So here we have a note where the threat actors are trying to convince you that you should pay. They will use social engineering tactics to do so. They will they stop at nothing to try to apply more and more pressure so that you succumb to paying. So here they say that they have X amount of terabyte of your internal data, and you need to pay within 48 hours. What is your immediate reaction? Do we shut everything down? Do we notify executives of this? You need to understand that they will stop at nothing to make you pay. So would you ever pay the ransom? Your default should be no. But I understand that sometimes the decision is situational. You have to evaluate your frameworks based on legality, operational impact, insurance requirements, and customer harm. And understanding the true financial impact. What is the real cost of ransomware? Isn't ransom, it's the downtime, legal exposure, forensic, customer loss, and investor reaction. So you have to understand that your financial exposure of not being ready for a ransomware attack could have a huge impact and a lasting one. So once the pressure is on, you have to not succumb to it and continue working diligently to mitigate the situation. So incident responders have found that samples of sensitive data have been leaked and more threats to be released. So far, incident responders can only see that some data has left, but not which data has left. So of course, organizing the data within your organization and preventing data and having some DLPs, data loss preventions, is very important, because if you don't know what has been exfiltrated, that could be a huge issue. So make sure that you identify the data within your organization and find methods of obfuscating the evidence. So I always recommend not naming things like payroll, health data, credit card, because this is what threat actors look for. When they launch their ransomware attack, they look for these type of names of files and exfiltrate anything that looks like that or has any of these identifiers. So it's very important to make sure that you know what type of data is being exfiltrated and what are your crown jewels, what are the important information that you need to safekeep within your organization. So of course, once this pressure is on, again, the board has to convene. You have to contemplate, like I said previously, do we notify law enforcement? Usually it's the private sector that mitigates ransomware attacks. So you have to be ready within your organization and with your team to actually mitigate these type of cyber attacks. And what actions can you take against the attacker? Of course, the crisis communication has to work very diligently, because at this point it has become public. You have to notify individuals and, of course, regulators all at the same time. You have to think of the remediation. So as the board concludes at this point, you now have to go into remediation. So that what that entails is forensic, downtime, rebuilding, reflashing of hardware, the legal cost of it, breach notification, and looking at all your third-party consultants. Cyber attacks turn small overruns into major financial exposure. You have to assure your investors that you have a good foothold within your organization and that you are ready, willing, and organized to mitigate these type of attack. And you have to be transparent at every stage. Usually the technology that fails in these organizations and where the attackers can find their openings are legacy system, offline modes, unstable tools, and vendor discrepancy multiply these accesses. Also, I'd like to a special mention to third-party risk. you have to understand that all your third parties are risk that you inherit. So make sure that you verify all your third parties, audit them, ask for their risk assessment, and keep that up to date, because their risk is your risk. So usually in this case, you want to make sure that your backups and snapshots are intact. In preparation for your bad day at the office, you have to find out who can provide help. Consider how to operate when nothing works. Consider the potential of regulatory impact and prepare adequately. Be familiar with the mechanisms of a takedown data. Communicate. Of course, only share confirmed facts. That is very important. Give space and rest to the staff because the pressure will be on. And prepare for the worst and exercises to practice. Having a simulation within your organization will give you the capabilities of acting out everything that has to be done with a level head, with less stress, and knowing who has to do what in these cases will be your best defense against these threat actors. So I would like to also mention that to better protect yourself, I always use the three, I like to use the 3-2-1-1-0, which you have to think of immutable backups. Why it's best to have a worm write once, read many times, is make sure that your immutable backups cannot be altered or deleted, even if there's an administrator or malware. So that's very important for you to have that within your organization. Offline and air-gapped backups, because ransomware can't encrypt what they can't reach. So cloud backups with versioning. So cloud providers maintain multiple file versions, allowing rollback to pre-attack states. You do not want to reflash your computers with a version of backups that has the ransomware strain or the malware or the rootkit. So that is very important. Snapshot-based backups, because the near instant point-in-time image of system and virtual machines are very important. That's what's going to back you up to the most recent. So always think of that 3-2-1-1-0 strategy. 3 copies of your data, 2 different storage medias are necessary, 1 offline, offsite, and offline copy. So 1, so that's 1 offsite, 1 offline, immutable copy, and 0 errors. So verify your backups through regular recovery testing. So as we end our simulation, of course, this was a very short and sweet kind of simulation, but hopefully it gives you a big picture that these exercises are necessary within your organization. And if there's anything that you do remember is the 3-2-1-1-0. Make sure that you have these incorporated, that IT has those to set up for you, and your chances of not paying ransom and really mitigating these ransomware attacks without putting too much pressure on your organization will be your best resilient package against these threat actors. So thank you for joining me today. Usually, like I mentioned in the talk, threat actors are traversing files and are within your system before the ransomware attack happens. So usually having a good visibility on your network logs, and if you see any brute force, that's why it is very important to have alerts on the right event IDs. Usually Windows has event IDs. So any type of brute forcing on any administrator accounts. So those are very important. Usually when I do the investigation, I go back in the log several months and see where the brute forcing, you will see that unfortunately it falls undetected because there is so much noise in the logs. But usually brute forcing of accounts is where you're going to see the beginning of threat actor activity before the ransomware encrypts. Yes, NIST is a great resource. So NIST will have your framework as well as what should be done, all the steps, all the security frameworks. If you get hit with a cyber attack or ransomware attack, so you should follow and have NIST implemented within your business continuity plan as well as your incident response plan. So those two plans plus NIST will be your greatest resource. Usually it is a cybersecurity specialist that does specialize in ransomware attacks. You can always do an in board or within your organization, have somebody in IT lead the ransomware simulation. However, a professional is usually somebody better situated to guide. And having a third party outside of the company sometimes is better to just make sure nothing is forgotten, or sometimes when we are within our own organization, we don't see if there are any gaps in our structure. So it's always better to have legal counsel that is specialized in mitigating these type of situations guide us through a simulation. No, there's not one solution. This is sort of a basic a solution process, like it's a greater picture. It really has to be adapted to your needs and infrastructure. Every company, every organization has a different scale, and you have to identify your crown jewels, which means what you want to protect the most, which systems are critical, which softwares are critical, and as well as what information needs to be protected at all costs. Once you identify that, and do an inventory of everything that is connected or interconnected, then you map out, you have a roadmap of exactly what you have to protect and how. So yes, the 3-2-1-1-0 is a great methodology to keep in mind, but you need to identify your crown jewels as well as information that needs to be protected so that you can work with that and protect that adequately and harden your system. Business continuity plan is something that should be well organized prior to an incident. So it is a step-by-step. It has to be adequately descriptive when you write it. So what to prioritize and when is really the playbook. You have to, within your business continuity plan, it has to be your own playbook within your organization. So the business continuity plan, yes, you can rely on standardized ones, but what is really important is that once you have mapped out your organization's needs, that the business continuity plan is actually written in a format, in a structural way that it really responds to the type of attacks that you can endure and how to mitigate all these types of attacks that are going to hit your organization. So a business continuity plan, though it could be standard, it really needs to be specific to your organization, and it has to be written in a way that all the steps within the business continuity plan really respond to your needs and help you mitigate the situation according to your already built infrastructure. Well, I always recommend having a good EDR, endpoint detection, data loss prevention. All these tools are great, but what's even greater is having somebody in your team who's an analyst that can, within your SOC organization or digital forensics, is remember, threat actors will try to get in through initial access, so you have to be mindful of insider threat. Usually initial access starts with a weak point on the inside, because threat actors or ransomware groups will not just wake up one morning and target you. They will purchase an initial access off of the dark web and allow a login or administrator access to your domain controller, and so forth. So it is very difficult. You can have all the tools that you want. However, you have to be mindful of what happens within your organization, who manipulates your infrastructure, trust parties, as well as third-party risk. Even though you have the best endpoint detection in your organization to identify malicious activity, if you do not audit your third-party vendors, you are inheriting their risk. So it's just not one factor, but it's many. That's why your audits and your risk assessment and your analysis and all of this investigation has to be dynamic in time. You cannot conduct a risk analysis and then wait another 6 months to a year to do it. It has to be dynamic in time. You have to do patch management as well, because threat actors are constantly scanning for vulnerabilities within your infrastructure. So you have to be mindful about so many elements. It's not like just one malicious activity, or you're going to get a red alert because there's a malicious IP hitting your infrastructure. You have to be mindful of every single way threat actor will hit your organization. These are often based, I always recommend